Thank you. Last year, before COVID, do you remember how busy the highways were? How about how long you'd sit in traffic? So the question is, are those traffic changes permanent? Denver 7's traffic anchor Jason Luber looks at the future of your commute.
It was a year ago. Vehicle traffic in our world was turned off like water from a hose. Just a few people could go out, leaving only essential vehicles on the wide open roadways. Since then, have you noticed? More traffic on the roads. 2020 was a record year for traffic, both for the low point in April and, as you could see in the Traffic Karma Mobility Trends data, for the balloon-like rise to record high traffic this past summer.
When we look at the Denver data, we see those summer months actually eclipsing the pre-COVID norms in total miles traveled. Keep in mind the number of trips that people take might be different than miles traveled, but we definitely saw some pretty strong numbers for Denver in the summer and spring months of last year.
Why did traffic come roaring back so quickly? The return of the summertime road trip.
We were actually up 4.3% over 2019 for July 4th, for example. So that was something like 41.4 million Americans, 670,000 Coloradans who were driving for that holiday because they didn't feel comfortable flying. So in terms of what the pandemic changed, a lot of folks who might previously have flown out to Disneyland said, you know what, I'm going to drive to Arches National Park instead.
I've been studying Denver traffic for 28 years, and before COVID, I could tell you exactly when and where a traffic jam would start, either on or off the highways. But ever since the original lockdown, there's been a shift in the traditional morning and afternoon commute that traffic reporters like me still notice.
It's kind of crazy. On a Monday, you're like, oh, well, things are back to normal. And then Tuesday, there's nothing in the morning. And then midday traffic comes like out of nowhere. And you're like, this never happens in the middle of the day on a Tuesday. And then, like you said, 3 p.m. or 3:30 p.m., you count down traffic to start to build on certain roadways, and it's not there. It doesn't come till maybe 5, and it only lasts for 30 minutes.
There will not be commuters to the same degree that we saw in 2019, probably ever again. Work from home was too successful. Many folks will have to go back to an office, but many folks won't. And that's going to forever change our travel patterns. I'm not going to say the commute is dead. Many folks will still commute.
Total miles traveled on a national and on a local level are still quite large. Even when you see percentages that are low, they're just spread across different day parts and different hours of the day. So where your traditional morning and afternoon drive commute times might be a little spread out further throughout the day.
While less traffic has made it easier to get around, it has also made it easier and more comfortable to drive faster than ever. And that, according to local law enforcement, has led to higher speeding tickets and to crashes that are more violent and involve more serious injuries. Will we ever go back to the levels of traffic we saw before the shutdown, or has traffic forever changed?
Signs point to 2021 being a banner year for automobile travel, so expect even more. I mean, I would say we're probably going to be up another 5%. We're talking millions of people nationwide over where we were in 2020.
What really remains up in the air is, when does confidence come back with public transit? There's still a lot of apprehension out there about getting on a train or a bus, especially if it's crowded. So does that mean that former transit users will then be hitting the highways instead? Only time and low COVID numbers will tell that part of the story. What we know for sure is that the roadways will continue to fill up as the economy opens back up. Jason Luber, Denver 7.